Welcome to Social Media Business, the podcast that covers building, managing and monetizing social media. Brought to you by online community strategist Laurel Patworth. For more information, go to laurelpatworth.com.
One site that I've spent way too much time on lately is Etsy, which is a fashion designer site, and it has vintage clothing. You can put up your measurements and have designers make things for you bespoke. They have cakes and chocolates and jewelry, all sorts of things, and it's a peer-to-peer site, so it's a little bit like eBay, but specifically for those who are crafty and arty and designer. And it's pretty big. They sold 6.7 million products last year. The revenue was $400 million, and about 30 to 50 million of that is revenue for Etsy themselves. So although they do $400 million worth of sales, they make a good 10% on that as their own profit. And I think the key thing with Etsy to remember is that Etsy themselves don't have to do anything. They just simply provide the platform for peer-to-peer commerce, for designers and dressmakers in the Philippines and Thailand and South America to design everything from 1950s ball gowns to evening dresses to pantsuits and bathers and lingerie and all kinds of clothing, and put them up online, and then you flick through like a catalogue and choose which ones you want. The community elements are really good. I love reading the reviews. I love looking at the photos of people who bought the same outfit, obviously all in different sizes and colours, and they put up photos of themselves wearing the outfit, so you can see how it looks in real life and not just with the models who are wearing it. So I think that for me, Etsy is an absolute killer of a community, and clearly extremely profitable for the community hosts. I had a bit of a shock during the week. I logged into World of Warcraft, which is the virtual world where I play with Silk Charm, my character, and I forgot my password. You know how you just sitting there and you're typing the wrong thing in, you do it several times and you realise you've done it too many times. So I clicked forgot password and I didn't get an email. So I waited an hour or two and clicked it again, waited another hour or two and clicked it again. I still didn't get my password. I didn't get a password until the next day, but I was able to log in, everything was fine. And then 2 days later, my account gets taken off of me by Blizzard, who make World of Warcraft. And they said, your account's been deleted, your character's been deleted, we think it's been compromised. I wasn't very happy. I hate to think how many hours in since December 2004 playing the Silk Charm character. So I wrote to them and eventually was able to get the character back, and she's not the same. She's wearing different clothes and she's got different articles, and she's just not the same character that I've been playing for a long time. And I wasn't very happy. But I do want to say, you know, it's not unexpected. Very, very many really large social networks have almost no customer service. So with 11.5 million paying customers a month, World of Warcraft Blizzard just delete the accounts and then you have to fight to get them back. And I had to send off my passport and all sorts of stuff to them. And that's not really necessary, because when you're a community manager, you know, we trap IP addresses, sometimes we trap the MAC address, the machine addressable code address, so we can get really specific and know if the person is who they say they are. And nothing had changed. My IP address was the same, my email address was the same, so clearly I hadn't been hacked. Now, Blizzard has been making $1.2 billion a year profit across their virtual worlds since about 2004, and I've checked it every year. It's about 1.1, 1.2. It's never changed. It's always about the same. It's mostly from World of Warcraft, so it's a big revenue driver for them. Last year, $1.2 billion, 2010, and they hadn't brought out any new products, so there was no development or anything done, although they did release an expansion for World of Warcraft at the end of the year. From 2004 to 2009, the cost, so not the revenue, but the cost was $200 million. And that's not a year, that's for the whole 5 years. So in 5 years, they spent $200 million on infrastructure, but brought in $1.2 billion. And most of that goes on customer service. Apparently, customer service is the largest department they have at Blizzard. But I feel like they could spend just a little bit more, because if they had the right tools, they wouldn't have to delete accounts, delete characters first and ask questions later. They could simply do a check on email addresses and IP addresses and say, look, this person is clearly just a bozo who's forgotten her password, and not a genuinely hacked account. Still, I guess, I was going to say we get what we pay for, but this isn't Facebook where it's free. We're paying $15 or more a month, so I kind of expected a bit better service than deleting my account. We'll see. I'm going to keep playing with Silk Charm and see if I can make friends with her again. Yeah. I manage a lot of online communities, or my company, the Community Crew, do. One of the main sites that we looked after just before Christmas was Junior MasterChef, the TV show. So we looked after the blogs and the forums and the Facebook page. Saw the Facebook page grow from like 100,000 members up to, I think, about 500,000. And what I want to say is, when you're looking at really large sites like that, particularly really large Facebook pages, I think at times we can get up to 16,000 comments during an ad break, and we're moderating those live, so we're having to refresh the page and check all the comments and delete them if they're inappropriate. There really were very few that we had to delete because of negativity, and the majority of comments were positive. We had to still delete quite a lot of comments, but they were mostly from young people, from children, who would post up, oh, I go to school with one of the contestants and her full name is, and they'd give the contestant's surname, which is a no-no, and she goes to this school, which is a no-no, and she's in this class, which is a no-no, and she lives at this address. So they were revealing personal information about the contestants or even about themselves. And because of the commitment of Channel 10 and of the Community Crew to keeping children safe online, for instance, our moderators are what's called blue carded. They are approved, they go through the police system to check to make sure that they can work with at-risk youngsters, and they get a blue card, the same as teachers do today. And so they're okay to work with kids online, but we're absolutely committed to them not revealing this information. And I really feel like the schools, I'd love to get into the schools and run classes that say, this is what you say on Facebook and this is what you don't say on Facebook, because clearly the message is not getting through. There were a lot of comments talking about really personal information that made everybody concerned identifiable. The commenter, the contestants, and perhaps even a group of other people on the forums that were making comments. So yeah, education departments really got to get with it. If we ban social media in schools, we don't get a chance to educate, and I would really be looking at education as a solution, not banning. Children will be more attracted to YouTube and Facebook if it's a no-no than if they're forced to learn about it in class. So I'd say teach them in class. One of the nightmares we've had in the last couple of weeks has been the Facebook migration tool. So Facebook's brought out a tool which allows you to take your personal profile and turn it into a business page. It's against Facebook's terms and conditions to run a personal profile as a business, and a lot of people break that rule. So you'll see everybody from travel companies to design companies to whatever using personal profiles. The migration tool means that you go into the username section and you click migrate, and it takes the personal profile and recreates it as a fan page. But when you do that currently, it breaks the username. You lose the username. So if you're facebook.com/mycompany, you lose all that. It's not bringing the fans across, and it's supposed to turn the friends into fans. It is not always accessible. You can get to it through some links and not to others. It says page not found. And we tried this for a well-known journalist here in Australia. She writes for the Weekend Australian, and we actually were going to try it, and then we held off because we could see all the errors, and we've been sitting on it now for about 5 days, and Facebook brings the tool up, then back down again, and it's not available, then back up, then back down. So it's up and down like a bride's nightie, I think is the saying. And yeah, Facebook, please don't do that to us. It's quite a big issue when we've told the customer we can do something, and then we have to sit on our hands hoping other people will make all the mistakes first, which they've done, and it's still not fixed. So that was from Friday. And close on the heels of that, Twitter's brought out their new page, and then they had to backtrack and put the old page back up again because the new service wasn't working for people. When you hand over your community to a third-party host, so it's not your forums, it's not your website, and you're relying on somebody else, when you rely on Twitter, when you rely on Facebook, when you rely on YouTube, you can run into quite big issues. So there are people out there with 5,000 plus friends on a business personal profile, if that makes sense, who've tried to move across to a business fan page. They've lost that page, and they're not able to interact with those fans and haven't been for a week. You're kind of losing that. Now, yeah, you can back up Facebook, and I strongly recommend that you use a service that allows you to back up Facebook, and you can back up Twitter. So really strongly recommend you do that as well before you try some of these tools. But even so, didn't anybody test these things? So hopefully it'll be working again soon. I'm interested to know if you have any questions on social media, social networking, or online communities. And if you do, if you could post them through. And they can be technical style questions, such as how do you do something, what menu is it under, is there any way of, blocking someone or changing your newsfeed around, or something along those lines. Or it can be a little bit more esoteric and strategic, what's the return on investment of social media and social networking, what's the cost of inaction, the COI, what's the timelines for marketing campaigns, and maybe all the way through to are there any times when you shouldn't be involved in social media? How do you handle negative comments? I don't know. Whatever questions you have, if you'd like to send them through to me on my blog, which is laurelpapworth.com. We also manage a forum at communitycrew.com, or you can send them to me on Twitter at SilkCharm, or on Facebook, facebook.com/SilkCharm. And I look forward to your questions and your comments. Thank you.
Welcome to Social Media Business, the podcast that covers building, managing, and monetizing social media. Brought to you by online community strategist Laurel Patworth. For more information, go to laurelpatworth.com.